Our proverbs are full of bird references. Kill two birds with one stone, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, don't count your chickens before they hatch. The one I heard most often as a child was, like water off a duck's back. It was my father's personal mantra for keeping his cool and remaining unbothered when someone or something attempted to ruffle his feathers. Like water off a duck's back. These are still the words I say to myself when I am caught off guard by the sting of someone's words, or when I find my anxiety rising from my stomach into my chest, and I find that I must make endless lists to keep track of all that runs through my mind. Like water off a duck's back. I often make the accompanying hand gesture. So strong is the visual that pops into my mind of droplets of water running down the slanted back of a mallard. Always a mallard. Ducks are able to keep water off their feathers through a process known as preening. All birds preen, but for waterfowl, it is an essential part of their daily lives. Preening involves the distribution of a waxy oil that comes from a gland almost all birds possess. With careful and instinctual deliberation, ducks smooth this substance over their feathers, shining them and aligning them for maximum waterproofness and ease of flight. Birds often engage in this behavior for hours a day. I have an association in my mind of preening with beautifying, and to be sure, there's a part of preening that is about looking your duckish best, but more than that, preening is a critical ritual which prepares the duck for the duties of life. Those water droplets slide down those oily feathers, and the words echo in my mind, and I think, this is the metaphor for resilience. This is nature's own poetry showing us how to stay the course, how to stand in the rain and not get wet, how to muck about in the puddle without disturbing your plumage. And all because of a daily ritual, a daily practice of preparing oneself for whatever may come. So if we are to be like the duck, if we are to be resilient, glossy against the daily injustices of a world torn asunder by corporate greed, xenophobia, and misogyny, we must find a way to oil our feathers. We must find a way to carve out time to attend to preparing ourselves for the duties of our lives. And for Unitarian Universalists, I believe one of these duties is to remain hopeful. To remain stubbornly committed to hope, oiling our feathers with the waxy balm of resilience so that we might stay hopeful amidst a world that tells us to despair. Hope is often packaged cheaply. It can appear superficial or naive. But hope is a deep theological concept. The prison abolition activist Miriam Kaba says that hope is not optimism. Hope is the belief that what plagues us today is not forever, that transformation is always possible, that change is constant. And one way we can remain hopeful is to attune ourselves to the ways it is already present in our lives. Emily Dickinson wrote that it is always living inside your soul, and it too has feathers. It is perched there, singing its little heart out through the storms of life. Dickinson suggests that hope comes to us free of charge. It won't ask a crumb of us. But what would happen if we lived as if hope deserved more than nothing from us? What would happen if we were to treat listening to the song of hope in our souls as a form of oiling our feathers? How might we be lifted? If we were to find ways to listen, really listen, in a deeply appreciative manner to the music of hope in our souls, might we find the songs of cynicism and self-doubt drowned out? Such intentional acknowledgement of the hopefulness that already persists inside us can be fortifying. It can be the balm which allows us to move through the daily indignities and the day's headlines with grace and resilience, hopeful for the transformation that is always possible. So hope here is an action we are taking. It is the deliberate attunement to the song in our souls. It is in the way we pay attention. Marge Piercy bolsters this notion, writing that attention is love, what we must give children, mothers, fathers, pets, our friends, the news, the woes of others. But then she continues, what we want to change, we curse, and then we pick up a tool. Bless whatever you can with eyes and hands and tongue. If you can't bless it, get ready to make it new. She too is talking about hope. We curse that which we want to change, knowing it can be better, committed to the possibility that with a tool we can make something new, make something worth blessing. It is about empowering each of you to take up hope and wield it as a tool in our lives, as a force for change. Wield it with small acts of kindness that will honor the effort the small bird in our soul put into mustering those notes. Acts such as extending the benefit of doubt to a catty coworker, reconnecting with an old friend, thanking someone for a thankless job, helping someone with their stroller up the stairs. These acts work in two directions. They remind others that there is goodness in the world, that people can surprise you. And they remind you of your own humanity, your own power to affect change. In the interdependent web of our world, one's hope is tethered to all hope, to the hope of all others. In this way, hope is a practice. But Piercy also suggests that hope is a process, too. First, we must curse that which we want to change, then pick up the tool. Her matter-of-fact tone implies it is only human to curse, to lash out in anger and disappointment, to find release in moments of expressed frustration. There's room here to fall down and to be imperfect. There's room to doubt and to question, but one must then rededicate to picking up the tool and making it anew. Hope is a process, and cursing is only a stop on the way to being part of the transformation, part of the dreaming for a better tomorrow. Keeping our feathers oiled and slickly resilient is a way to ensure the cycle continues, to ensure that we have the energy and the wherewithal to pick up the tool, to keep moving along towards the hope, towards the forever possible transformation of this world. It is a return to daily the ritual of oiling our feathers so that the waters of despair might roll off our backs. I would be remiss if I didn't reflect on just how tempting despair is these days. I myself am struggling mightily to keep it at bay. I feel it when I read the newspaper, listen to the radio, open my web browser. It is lurking in every conversation and every exchange, and it is breathtaking to witness the pace with which all the hard-won victories are being systematically undone. To the detriment of our most vulnerable and our most cherished dreams, we are in a race to the bottom in which we use families and children as bargaining tools in a political game. We are back to negotiating for things we long ago thought of as signed, sealed, and delivered. At times, I am so ashamed by this country and the man who occupies the Oval Office, I veer into bitterness. And bitterness stings. It can sting so much that I want to insulate myself from it. I want to hide or ignore the realities of our present condition because I can't bear to watch or hear or think about the magnitude of the pain. Too much oil on the feathers, and her wings are weighed down. She can't take flight. Too much time spent building up our defenses against the bitterness, and we become inured. It is a tricky balance to strike, that fine line between resilience and complacence. But practice helps. Birds engage in preening for hours a day. Practice and a daily rededication of walking that fine line between hopeful and heartbroken. This is Unitarian Universalism for me. It is an acknowledgement that I am hurting because the world is hurting, but not allowing myself to wallow. It is a return to the tool, to hope for transformation, and to have faith in the possibility of a better tomorrow. Our sixth principle tells us that it is our goal to nurture a world community with peace, justice, and liberty for all. This is the vision that sustains us when we are flagging. This is the transformation we are working toward. This is an abiding belief in the possibility of the world to right itself, to realize its divine and infinite possibilities for love and healing. It is, at its core, a principle of hope. And I find hope when I come to church, when I give whatever I might be able to the offertory, when I light the chalice in the dark of winter, when I sit with my family in faith. I feel that I am oiling my feathers, that I am attuning my ears to the song of hope in my soul, and I feel rejuvenated for the task at hand. And we needn't look far for examples of inspiring resilience and hopefulness. Who knows more about hope than Black and brown Unitarian Universalists who have never given up their rightful place in our denomination, despite systematic institutional exclusion? People like Lena Gardner, the executive director of Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, and Christina Rivera, who courageously told her story of discriminatory hiring practices within our very own UUA. These are our people, and they oiled their feathers to a sheen and never ever blocked out the song in their souls. We honor them best by remaining hopeful too. Despite the world's insistence on despair, we return to hope. We return to the belief that transformation is always possible. We return to the practice and the process. We find the time to listen to the birds in our souls that never cease to sing. And then we pick up a tool. Please rise in body or spirit for hymn number 131.